name is Vivian. I saw Seussical last Saturday and stayed for the full show. I completed this response without using anyone else's ideas or words. Three words that summed up my reaction to this performance are whimsical, playful, and exaggerated. Definitely because of the actors' expressions, the bright set designs, the bright costumes, and then like the imaginative narrative that was kind of very chaotic, but very interesting, that was created by Seuss. The playwrights and creators were Lynn Athrens and Stephen Flattery. I'm probably butchering those names, but the genre of this piece was definitely like a lighter comedy with elements of like fantasy portrayed through this like musical theater. I would say this because of the elements of like heightened reality, like with the jungle and the Who's, and a lot of the physical humor with the Wickersham brothers and some of the birds and things that were and some of the other characters. I'd also say the happy ending definitely contributes to the lighter comedy genre. As far as conflict, I would say Horton is the main protagonist throughout this production. He was fighting for the voices of people who could not speak for themselves, with the Who's and the Egg. And the climax of the play was the courtroom scene when Horton was put on trial. The language was very informal for this production, with lots of back and forth. Dialogue, however, again, a lot of it was singing. The communication was through song, just because it was a musical. But secondly, I would say the phrase "a person's a person no matter how small" was repeated throughout the show, especially by Horton, as he was very outspoken for others. And then the word think, thunk, thunks, variations of that also came up, kind of as imagination was like demonized almost in the performance, but creativity like kind of like found like new ways to like shine through. The director was Tommy Lafrate, again butchering that, but the stage setup was a proscenium style, and I would say that overall the cast fit their roles fairly well, and they worked well as an ensemble. Fairly diverse cast with a lot of the main characters, like the protagonist Horton being BIPOC. I don't necessarily think that diversity is like necessarily like crucial for this specific performance, but it was definitely refreshing to see, especially because Binghamton is not a super diverse area. As far as the specific staging moment that stuck out to me was one where where Maisie was just convincing Horton to sit on the nest, so Horton kind of climbed up on there, and it put him in this position of like a little bit like higher up than everyone else, but he was immediately beat with some of the elements, and that kind of stuff. So it kind of showed like while he was doing what was like right or what he thought was right in the moment, he was kind of facing some like negative consequences of that, but he still stuck to it just because he was sticking up for people who couldn't stick up for themselves. So that was a moment that I felt like the staging definitely complemented his overall character as well. As far as actor specific though, I focused in on Grayson Weiss, who played JoJo throughout the show. Two thoughts about the actor's work. First, I would say that Grayson definitely embodied JoJo's childlike wonder, excitement, curiosity, and then I also felt like the actor really embodied JoJo's journey very well, showing like growth as like JoJo starts off a little more like shy, and a little bit more naive, and then becomes more assertive and stands up for himself throughout the show, first against his family and then against the general, and then ultimately like with those negative thoughts that the Cat in the Hat was trying to like evoke to show that he had the light like within himself the entire time. One specific moment that stuck out to me was where JoJo's character and Horton were singing back and forth about how they were alone in the universe. This was right after Horton hears the Who's on the clover and begins protecting them, and this is right after JoJo is scolded for thinking too much. I thought that Grayson captured the despair and isolation JoJo was feeling really well, and that transition from that despair to feeling more hopeful and like feeling that little bit of relief that he was not on his own, because Horton was also being targeted for being like individualistic and thinking against the narrative of what everyone else was thinking. I thought this was complemented by Grayson's like use of like a high pitch and like more like whiny tone to convey like JoJo's youth, and then like wide eyes and like sunken posture to convey like JoJo's hopelessness in that scene. I felt really sympathetic for JoJo just because it was really relatable that we've all felt like kind of defeated like that, and especially when criticized by our parents. A second moment would be McElligot's pool. Right after JoJo is told to stop thinking so many things, and the Cat in the Hat kind of opens up like this new world for JoJo in that moment, and I felt that Grayson really captured JoJo's ability to like JoJo's like leaning into the possibility of this new world with joy and kind of a little bit of longing also mixed in. It showed like a level of insight, I feel like, with the importance of creativity that adults seem to lack, especially in those scenes. And they use their body to kind of like, you know, jump around playfully and like build themselves up and like show their excitement build throughout the performance, into like this larger than life character and being. And in this moment, I felt really excited for JoJo and hopeful that he would, you know, be able to like build this character, build this imagination and creativity with the Cat in the Hat rather than like squash this thinking because of his like parents and the adults in his life. The designer for the costumes is the thing I focused on. The designer is Devin Painter. Two main ideas. I thought the overall color palette was again very bright, very vibrant, very colorful, and that the overall feel of the costumes was very childlike in the sense of like imagination, not childish. I would say that almost every costume was very individualized and unique. And the overall, like the only one that had like a dull kind of color was Horton's, and I would say like even though like that was because he was like portraying an elephant, it also signifies like his down to earth nature and his kind of like grounding presence throughout the show. Um, but other design elements, I thought the sour kangaroo, her outfit was very interesting. So the purple blouse and the skirt. I thought this was interesting. She wore this throughout the entirety of the show. It was this deep purple pinkish with puffy sleeves and this like gold buttons up the front, with a skirt with like little purple tassels. And I thought her outfit matched her personality very well. And that the designer like made this choice to show how she was trying to like appear with like this like air of like power, and like kind of being a little stuck up and strict, kind of like a businesswoman, and that the color purple like with this business attire kind of complemented that really well by like making this like royal, regal, kind of powerful air that kind of added to her mystery. And then another costume that I found really interesting was the mayor's suit. So it seemed that most of the entirety of the show, it was like this light baby blue color, with these like large pants that were kind of simultaneously really short and puffing out at the sides with white polka dots, with this little like kind of cropped blazer, suit jacket, and like funny looking bow tie. And I thought that the designer likely made these like the choices to kind of create like this like juxtaposition between like the bright cartoonish vibe of Who, well, like with the more like strict, and uptight kind of ridiculous nature like of the Who's versus like, or of the mayor versus like the Who's. So the clash between like the adulting, like adult nature of the mayor versus like the importance of like the chaos and the creativity and the imagination. But I think overall the artists worked really well together, and had a really collaborative performance as a whole. Between the absurd costumes and the larger than life performances, they seemed like they were really kind of parallel, especially like going between the jungle and Who, that they were both very absurd and seemingly different areas, like seemingly chaotic worlds, but they really had similar judgmental elements. And I think overall this purpose was, and the artist wanted the audience to understand the importance of accepting individuals for who they are, knowing that they are different, and knowing they all have different things to offer, as well as not overlooking the importance of creativity and imagination. And I learned that even a production that's kind of like silly and fun, and like meant for kids, can be kind of entertaining, evoke joy, and have a little bit of an impact. So I really enjoyed that.